Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I don't know if it's afternoon or evening when you're watching this, but certainly I'm glad to have you. Today, we're going to talk about the Delphi murders because they had court on Saturday, half a day. So, a couple of witnesses to talk to you about. They're going to talk about where the bodies were found. Stay tuned. Hello. Welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I forget all the time too. And subscribe. You don't want to miss a single episode. This case is not being covered on Court TV or Law and Crime. The judge has ruled that there are no cameras in the courtroom. So what I'm doing is I am getting my information from YouTubers that I happen to think are pretty credible. Lawyer Lee and Andrea Burkhart. You can check out their channels. That's the name of their channels. Lawyer Lee, Lee, and Andrea Burkhart. I will put a link down there in the description if I remember to do it. If not, I apologize. So that's where I'm getting my information. And I know Andrea was not there on Saturday, so she didn't do a show about what occurred on Saturday, but Lawyer Lee did, and I listened to that this morning. So they did have court on Saturday. This judge is very strange with her rulings. And I will tell you right up front that she has ruled that there can be no mention of third-party suspects. Yeah, because there's this whole defense theory that, more than one person was involved. So, in any case, the first person on the stand was Steve Mullen, and then followed by a guy named Jack Johns, Jack Johns, John or Joan, or I apologize. I wasn't there. When they have to spell their names, I usually like to listen and spell it out so I can pronounce it. Anyhow, I would like to show you pictures of this bridge before we get into the testimony. These are some scary photos. I'm just going to tell you right now. Hold on. Here we go. Is this the one? Here we go. Take a look at this. Oh my God. This is 60 feet above the creek. That is one heck of a high bridge and very, very long, like I've said before. That's the bridge. That below it is called Deer Creek. Here's another picture of the creek below the bridge. Like, look at that. Wood is rotted and yeah, not me. Not going across it. So here, let me see if I can bring it up a little bit. Here we go. You'll see the girls, you see the creek running there. They've got circled the Monon High Bridge that runs over the creek. You could actually see it runs way farther north of where that circle is as well. It's a pretty long bridge. But the body of the girls was found where that larger red circle is. That is north of the creek. Their clothing was found south of the creek, actually almost in the creek. And then to the north of where the girls were found, there is a cemetery. And we'll get into that later about what that could potentially mean. But I will tell you that the defense's theory, one of their theories, is that the girl's body was not in this location where you're looking now. It was not in that location during the initial search. The afternoon that they go missing, there's a search. They continue to search with the police, with the family, with friends, neighbors. Everybody's searching till 2:00 in the morning. And it's the defense's theory that during that time, those girls were not in this location, because if they were, they would have been found. Yeah. So that didn't happen. They weren't found until the search resumed at 6 a.m. and they were found around lunchtime in this location. So the defense theory is that they were moved to this location after the search ended that night. They were moved to this location. Interesting. So that is photos that I think will be helpful to you when we talk about the testimony. So let's stop sharing that and we will go back to here. Okay, you got me. And let me put myself in a full screen. There we go. Anyway, the first person on the stand, Steve Mullen, he was the chief of police at the time. He was not on duty at the time, but he overheard on his radio traffic about these missing girls. So he goes in because he wants to help out. One of the ways he helped out was by contacting school officials to see, is there anything going on? No. And he did talk about the search ending at 2 a.m. and starting at 6 a.m. So he, the next morning when they met up again, he organized everybody. He met up with the searchers the next morning and sort of, corralled everybody and got them going in different directions. And then at 2 p.m. that day, he met with the families to officially notify them that the bodies had been found. Now, the second person on the stand was Jack Johns. And I will tell you that there was, because the jury's allowed to ask questions. What they ask of Mr. Mullen, the former chief of police, is what was your thought process in searching downstream? Because apparently that was his testimony, that the search was focused downstream, which on that map that I showed you would have been the opposite direction of where the clothing and the bodies were found. He told the jury that he was thinking that the girls had fallen from the bridge and were washed down the stream. So that's why they were focusing the search downstream. The jury also asked him to clarify where the bodies were found. And he did that as best he could. And I tried to show you as well. I will tell you that I'll give you some additional information and I will pull up the map again. So what I'm saying makes sense when we get to it. But Jack Johns testified that he had learned the night before about the girls being missing. When I don't know what I apologize, I didn't catch what he does for a living, but when he shows up for work the next day, his boss says, hey, because this is a small town, very close-knit community. He says, hey, why don't you, go over and help with this search? Everybody's over there searching for these girls. Why don't you go on over there? So he goes over to help. About 8 o'clock that morning, he starts searching, and he is looking near the bridge. Now, he takes the creek and goes the other direction. He and a friend of his, they go the opposite direction of downstream, upstream. I guess that's upstream. Upstream. And he was on the south side of the creek. He found a tie-dye shirt, and he said they were looking for the tie-dye shirt because they figured it would stick out. So they see this tie-dye shirt. It is caught on some roots in the water. And they also find some black Nike sneakers. So they attempt to cross the creek, but the water was too high. So along comes this fireman. He gets on his radio and he tells the powers that be, I guess, the supervisors, that, hey, we found some clothing. So he is starting to walk across the creek. On his radio call, he's notifying people to come from the north side of the creek and meet them. And that's how the body was found. Oh, I guess it was 3 witnesses on the stand yesterday. 3. Yeah. So the fireman's crossing the creek when he hears someone call out, "I found the bodies." Now, he's already been on the radio and asked for people to come from the north. Those people that were coming from the north found the bodies. And that's the next person on the stand, the person that found the bodies. And but this witness, John, he heard Pat. He could hear Pat. The guy's name that found the body, his name was Pat. He could hear Pat calling out, "Hey, I found the bodies. Found the bodies." But he couldn't see Pat. From the south side of the creek, he could hear him, but he could not see him. Could not see the bodies from the creek. And this is important. And it goes to whether those bodies may or may not have been there the night before. I think the prosecution is going to have to find someone who, well, how would they work? Yeah. Maybe it's the defense is going to have someone come in and say, yeah, I searched that area and there were no bodies. Will they? I don't know. It'll be interesting. So they also found, John did, they found some shoe prints and slide marks and rock disturbances going towards the creek. I think that's why they were going to go across the creek. So then the final person on the stand for Saturday was Pat Brown. Now, Pat is the one that found the body. He's a long-term resident of Delphi. He saw the night before that Becky had posted, Becky's the grandmother of Libby German. And she posted on Facebook that the girls were missing. So he called some friends and decided he was going to go help with the search. So that was the afternoon that they went missing. He was one of the people searching out there. He said by the time he gets out there and gets involved, it's already dark. They're all searching. It's called off at 2 a.m. They all go home. He gets off. He calls off work the next day. He says he takes the day off. He's going to go search the creek. But so when he gets out there, he hears this call for someone to come from the north side of the creek. So he starts at that cemetery and starts walking. But when he's searching, he's actually searching to the left of where the bodies were found, more towards the creek from the cemetery, towards the left side. Anyway, but then when they say where they're at, he starts heading towards them, finds the bodies. Now, he said they looked like, when he first saw them, he thought they were mannequins. He did not think that that could possibly be the two girls, but he did confirm that they were the two girls. Now, he is never asked on the stand to describe the scene. Where were they? How far apart were they? What were they wearing? Was anything on top of them? Anything underneath of them? Anything in the area? Nothing like that was asked of this man. Nor was he asked, like, how close did you get to the scene? He talked about, shortly after they were found, 3 girls came up and they turned around and went somewhere else. But he did call and people started coming. The fireman was coming through the creek. But this man, Pat, said some interesting things. First of all, from where the bodies were, where he was, he could not see the creek. He could hear people. He could hear people at the creek, but he couldn't see anything. And he could hear people up on the bridge, which means if that's where they were killed, wouldn't someone have heard it? Yeah. Just saying. I think there were enough people out there that day because this is a well-traveled area, these trails. It sounds like that if they had been murdered during the time frame we think that they were murdered, someone would have heard it. So where were these girls murdered and then placed where their bodies were found? And why are we not getting the details of how they were found? Nor were there any pictures shown to the jury. Not yet, but I suspect because they're going to get those pictures in through the crime scene investigator once they respond out and they take all their photos. Then I think the jury's gonna see photos of the scene. I don't know that we're not gonna see those photos, obviously, but hopefully, the people that are attending this trial will give us enough of a description that we can figure out, what's going on with the scene and these girls. And that's important because I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but there's I don't think it's a religion or a cult. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's this thing called Odinism, and it's very prominent in this case, except nobody's going to hear it mentioned in trial. That the thought process is that they may have been involved in some type of Odin ritual that may have taken place at the cemetery, and then their bodies were brought down. There's thoughts that these girls may have gotten into a vehicle, driven somewhere else, and then returned to the area. We don't know. So those are just some of the things that we may or may not hear during this trial because of the judge ruling that they can't talk about third-party culprits. They can only talk about Richard Allen. And that'll go up on appeal. It will, and it'll be really he may get another trial based on that ruling. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. We will have to see how it plays out. I think I've pretty much covered it. I'm gonna just show you this map one more time before we go. So you can get another idea based on what I've told you today. Let's see, the Monon High Bridge map. Here we go. So you see where those girls, where it says where the girls were found. I told you up above that there's a cemetery up to the north of that. To the south, you see that Deer Creek. It was south of that creek, right in, I don't know if you can see my cursor, right in this area where the clothing was found. Now, when this one guy that found the bodies was searching, he started out at the cemetery and then he went this way. I hope you can see that initially. And then once they heard about the clothing over here, he starts to walk this way is when he finds the bodies of the girls. So they did not fall off the bridge. We can rule that one out. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And I hope to, if you have any questions, I hope to get those clarified for you. Just let me know what they are, and I do answer all of my comments. So have a wonderful day, everybody. I'm going to go watch The Suitcase Murder so I can bring you that tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Take care, everybody.